Liz Cheney and the NeoCons face a massive backlash as two rural counties vote to secede. In this video, we're going to take a look at the colossal blowback that Liz Cheney and other Republican sellouts are getting, how the revenge of the NeoCons is already failing big time, and how a number of counties who are voting to leave their respective states are showing us what the future of the GOP really is. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Wonderful to be with you as always. We believe the worldwide populist revolt has just begun, and we're here to give you conservative hope in the midst of admittedly turbulent and trying times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a regular part of this channel where each and every single day we analyze often distressing current events, but in light of very hopeful conservative trends so that you could think better and therefore feel better. Before we dive into things here, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsors of this video, and that's our good friends over at Noble Gold, right? I've been singing it all week, silver and gold. Silver and gold. When times are tumultuous and turbulent, you just can't beat them. There's frankly never been a better time to start a gold or silver IRA in your portfolio, and the amazing staff over at Noble Gold are ready to help you in any way that they can. If that's not incentive enough, Noble Gold is actually giving away the U.S. Mint's own solid silver 5-ounce $1 Apollo 11 moon landing coin with every qualifying gold or silver IRA. It's absolutely beautiful. So do not wait. Click on that link below or visit their website at noblegoldinvestments.com. Give them a call, 877-646-5347. Make sure to mention my name, Dr. Steve Turley, and let's ride that gold and silver wave together. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. As you know, Liz Cheney and 9 other Republican congressmen voted to impeach President Trump the other day. 10 Republicans voted to impeach our president, despite the fact that the latest poll shows that 85% of Republican voters are staunchly opposed to this impeachment. 85%. But that wasn't good enough for neocons like Liz Cheney, and so she and these 9 other Republican congressmen voted in a way opposed by 85% of their base. And so needless to say, the backlash against Cheney, who is the senior ranking member of the 10 who voted for impeachment, needless to say that the backlash against her has been utterly immense. Less than 24 hours after Cheney's vote, Republicans began calling for her removal from her leadership position as conference chairman. Cheney is the number 3 Republican in Congress. Politico's reporting that members of the Freedom Caucus, which was in part founded by Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, members began, quote, circulating a petition Wednesday to force a special conference meeting so they could debate and vote on a resolution calling on Cheney to resign from her post. Just 20% of 42 members of the House GOP is required to sign the petition in order to force the meeting. But a majority of the conference would need to agree to the resolution in order for it to be adopted. That vote would be conducted via secret ballot. So Jordan and others want Cheney stripped of her conference chairmanship, and they are not alone. The Hill is reporting that the Wyoming Republican Party, remember Cheney is a representative from Wyoming, the Wyoming Republican Party has decried Cheney's vote to impeach a president that remains quite popular among Wyoming Republicans, sharing what they're calling a, quote, outcry of denunciation against Cheney. Quote, there has not been a time during our tenure when we have seen this type of an outcry from our fellow Republicans, with the anger and frustration being palpable in the comments we have received. Our telephone has not stopped ringing, our email is filling up, and our website has seen more traffic than at any previous time. The consensus is clear that those who are reaching out to the party vehemently disagree with Representative Cheney's decision and actions, close quote. In response, Cheney, of course, reiterated she's not going anywhere. She has no plans to resign her post as a number 3 Republican. So obviously what we have here is a civil war that has bubbled to the surface within the Republican Party. I think my mistake in my analysis over the last couple of months is that I really believed that this civil war had been resolved, largely resolved at least back in 2016. My naivete, my assumption was that the civil war was over. It was decisively decided in 2016 because what happened in 2016? What happened was that a third-party candidate, Donald Trump, a third-party candidate, won a major party nomination. Donald Trump was a third-party candidate who won a major party nomination. And what you had was a populist revolt against the political establishment in 2016. It really was the people versus the political class in both parties, by the way, Bernie Sanders and Democratic Party, right, as well. And what we saw triumph, at least on the surface, what we saw that happened to have triumphed, is that the politics of the people, particularly rural citizens throughout the nation, the politics of the people had seemed to vanquish the politics of the political class because they're very, very different. The politics of the political class rule according to their own values, according to their own interests and concerns, at the expense of the values, interests, and concerns of the people. And what we have learned over these 2 months is that this civil war is not over. And more pundits are waking up to that. I was particularly intrigued by a great piece in American Greatness entitled The Revenge of the NeoCons by Julie Kelly. And she argues that the neocon establishment, they never really got over the fact that Trump utterly humiliated them during the 2016 primaries. If you think about it, Trump utterly crushed their $100 million man, Jeb Bush. And Trump didn't just crush Bush in the primaries. Trump forever destroyed any hope of a political career for Jeb. I mean, Jeb was rendered politically dead as a result of those primaries. Trump basically launched a take-no-prisoners, nationalist populist takeover of the Republican Party. And while some did politically survive, barely, like Ted Cruz, right? Cruz almost got knocked out in 2018 because, well, at least in part because of his refusal to endorse Trump at the 2016 Republican convention. He seems to have since politically recovered. But while some politically survived, Rand Paul and all, they survived in a redefined Republican Party that was now thoroughly nationalist, populist, and traditionalist. Or so we thought. As we've witnessed over the last 2 months, we have plenty of neocon establishment Republicans in power who are absolutely hell-bent on getting rid of Trump and expelling the whole MAGA movement from the Republican Party. Now, a way of conceiving of that, a way of framing what's going on here, is to make a distinction we often make between a populist right party versus a populist light party, right? We like to make this distinction between the nationalist populist right versus the nationalist populist light. So nationalist populist right party is a MAGA party from top to bottom, through and through, right? All rhinos, all neocons have either left or have just adjusted themselves to the new political reality, okay? A nationalist populist light party is a party that has a MAGA base, a nationalist populist grassroots, but a neocon globalist establishment leadership. And that's what we're seeing play out in the Republican Party. While the neocon establishment was happy to reap the electoral rewards of the growing populist movement, they still have an establishment leadership which easily digresses back to technocratic globalist norms. I mean, we saw something comparable with, how Reagan's nationalist populism was eclipsed by both Bush seniors and juniors' deference to a post-Cold War neocon globalism. So, I mean, obviously this is going to take several cycles to work itself out at this point. But the key here is that there are many pundits who recognize there is simply no future for a Liz Cheney or Mittens Romney neocon GOP. That ship has sailed. Those days are over. Simply put, a party that tries to build itself on the 5% of Republicans who didn't vote for Trump or the 15% of Republicans that support impeachment is a party that has absolutely no future, period. Trumpism is the only way forward for the GOP. So the question remains whether either the establishment is going to get with the program or whether we're going to be largely successful in primarying enough of them to rid the party of these rhino neocons. Now, while all of this is going on, you have what appears to be a brewing rebellion among rural counties in the nation. But first, in response to this latest progressive purge, we here at Turley Talks are currently loading up our website and our YouTube channel and so forth on a number of different alt-tech sites. And you can find out where we are simply by clicking on the link below and signing up for our alternative media directory. Now, this is a directory that's going to make sure that you find precisely the alt-tech site that's right for you. And best of all, you can enjoy our channel and learn to think better and feel better, but without any threat of censorship. It's absolutely free. So make sure to click on the link below and sign up for our Turley Talks alternative media directory today. All right, so we've got some interesting developments going on here on the secession front. Now, remember, secession can be both domestic, in that portions of a state want to secede from their state capital, right? Like proposals to break up California. And of course, secession can involve a regional breakaway from a national government, like Texas. The latest development here involves two counties in Oregon, Union County and Jefferson County. They have recently voted to require their county commissioners to hold meetings about actually joining up with Idaho. Now, of course, Oregon is a very blue state dominated by crazy Portland politics. And these counties want instead to relocate their border so as to come under Idaho's jurisdiction, Idaho being one of the more red states in the nation. And they're not alone. A number of other Oregonian counties held similar referendums, and they lost by only a couple of percentage points. So it's pretty clear that rural America is starting to rebel against the far-left cosmopolitan America. USA Today fairly recently noted that the U.S. is experiencing what they called secession fever. And this is primarily, again, manifesting itself in rural areas. Many residents in the exurbs, the more rural parts of the United States, wanted to secede. And this is because those states, they were living in states that were dominated by metropolitan and urban centers. And so it's becoming more and more popular for, in this case, Oregonians to wanting to join Idaho, or Virginians and Marylanders wanting to join up with West Virginia. The point here is that rural areas throughout our nation are not standing idly by and allowing their futures to be determined either by Democrat monopolies in cosmopolitan centers or by rhino Republican neocons. And if the next 2 years play out the way most believe, this secession fever that USA Today talks about, it's only going to blaze like wildfire throughout the nation's counties. A number of pundits have recognized that rural America has been growing increasingly conservative. Democrats are in many ways becoming every bit the extinct species in our rural counties as Republicans are becoming in our cities and urban centers. The nation appears to be fully reorienting around rural versus urban, not just in our politics, but in our culture, our consumer choices, and the like. These dynamics mean nothing less that the Republican Party, if it wants to survive as a viable political party, is going to have to embrace an increasingly conservative, nationalist, populist, and traditionalist rural grassroots. Otherwise, you can bet that a Liz Cheney GOP is itself going to go extinct. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you'll definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it. It was actually our live stream from last night on the backlash against cancel culture. Twitter and Facebook have lost over $50 billion. All the while, the nationalist right are poised to take over in the nation of Italy. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.